Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to cover the S&P 500. We're also going to cover NVDA and Tesla, and we're going to see where I think it's going and where I think good entry points are. So let's just get right into it. We're also going to go through a pretty important tip that I learned that is really helping me in my trading, and it has helped a lot of other traders. All right, so first let's just get into the S&P 500. So the tip that I want to talk about today is get rid of your trend lines. Stop using them, use zones. It's a lot more clearer when you think about it in zones because trading is messy. It's not clean. It takes a little bit of gray area to process, and it really helps you see, if you just zoom in right here, the stock tip that I'm going to point out to you today is as the price action comes up into the zone, once it's rejected through the zone, if you're shorting the market, that's when you would really want to enter. And you can see right here, this day on the S&P 500 on looks like February 16th would have been a great time to enter. And if you had the lines here, you're not really sure exactly how to play it, but the zones allow you to see an actual trend of reversal because you can see that it did not actually break through the trend, or through this zone right here, but it was rejected and brought down. And it's really hard to tell sometimes when you have a definitive line, because not everything in trading is going to be a definitive line. So you have these zones here on the S&P 500. Right now we're in the overbought sort of zone. Now we can blast through this previous high, which is at February 2nd. It is entirely possible, especially because the TSI has more room to run. But you have to look at everything overall. The tech sector has a huge play in the S&P 500, and as you'll see in Tesla and NVIDIA, a lot of those stocks, and even if you were to bring up Apple, are just kind of overbought right now. So while the TSI does have room to run, and it is a reason to be a little cautious on going short, we're in the overbought territory. So I am looking to at least see this S&P 500 price action come back down through this zone and hit at least this moving average right here, which is the 100-day moving average, and potentially go down to a lower low. And if we break this right here, you see all this volume right here, and you see all this volume here, so here and here. If we break that, we're definitely going to at least in my opinion, we're going to go down to right about here. Of course, nothing is a sure thing. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, just my opinion on the market. Okay, so if we bring up the TSI, let's just zoom it up a little bit. We're definitely over the zero line. We're approaching the overbought line, but we have room to run on the S&P 500. So is a trend reversal to go short 100%? No, definitely not. Okay, so let's just get rid of this here, zoom back in, and that's the S&P 500. Now keep in mind, as far as if you're shorting, we're still above these moving averages, and we're above this moving average here. So that is a little bit of a point against you if you're trying to short the market. But again, you want to get into your short before that huge downturn, because you can end up missing just most of the market. Let's bring up Tesla right now. And right here again, I have these zones. And I have this, if I zoom out, I have this zone right here for the resistance, because we are in a bear market with Tesla right now. And we have this support right here. So even in the bear market, if you hit this support right here, it could be something considered to go long, but it's going to be a lot higher of a risk just because we're in a downturn, right? You see the moving average pointing down, and when the moving average is pointing down, that's when you want to look to go short. When the moving average is turned up, that's when you want to look at going long. Okay, so we have this floor that seems to be holding, and it's been holding since I would say November of 2022 on Tesla. So going long, it's a little bit of a risk. We're right at that zero line. We're kind of in no man's land as far as the TSI, if I bring it up. And if you don't know what the TSI is, it's essentially it's an oscillator, kind of like the RSI, but it works really well with the Bjorgen multi-MA which I have right here. That's what these red and blue lines are. Okay, so what I would really like to see on Tesla as far as going short is breaking this floor, and you want to see an impulsive move to the downside. And if we do, you know, we're looking at something, there's only one point here, so it's not like a great really support line, but you're looking at maybe something like that breaking all the way down, and that would maybe be a price target to hit at about 114, 111, something around there. So if you're looking to go long on Tesla, what you want to see for one is to get over this moving average, and you want to kind of see a bounce off the moving average and then break through this resistance, and then you can make a new trend, kind of something like, you know, if we were to come up like this, now you're looking at something up here, and, you know, probably hit something kind of like that. Okay, so if we can just take these away now, because that is hugely hypothetical. We don't even know if that's going to happen or not. So anyways, as far as Tesla, we're overbought in the sense that we're seeing some divergence on the TSI, and that means that the momentum is slowing down as far as buying. Okay, so what we really need to see is some of the bulls have an impulsive sell, a panic sell, and that's going to bring us to the next leg down. And if we bring up NVDA, now NVIDIA is kind of reflecting what I see a lot in the tech sector right now, and that is overbought both on the TSI and just where we are on our resistance levels. Now again, there's only one previous point here, so is that a huge resistance? Not necessarily, because we only have one point to deal with it, but that's really all we have so far. So that's as far as traders are going. Everyone's kind of looking at this, and it could become a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, and we could start to see a leg down. Now you can see an inflection right here, and it looks very similar. If you zoom in, it does look very similar to a Head and Shoulders. Just zoom in some more. Now you have a higher high right here, higher high here, lower high here, and that's starting to kind of reflect the inverse Head and Shoulders. And then you have this leg up here today that happened in the price action. So if this blasts through this resistance, right here, yeah, we definitely could see some more upside, potentially just up to this previous high right here, and then a leg down, or just a continuation to go up. But you know, everything that goes up must come down, and this has just been ripping as far as price action all the way since back in January. So a couple of months right here. So we're definitely on a short watch right now, especially because we did get rejected off of this zone at the top. We're starting to see a red cloud form, although it's very slight. Let's just try and zoom in. It's very slightly right here if we get rid of this for a second. So if we get rid of that for a second and you zoom in, it's just starting to form right here. Now it can form and you could still continue to go up just like you have here and here, but this is now going on about a week where it's starting to form that red cloud. And if we bring up the TSI, we're seeing that divergence to the downside. Okay, so that's NVIDIA. That's what we have for NVIDIA, the S&P 500. And what we talked about earlier, if we just to bring up Apple again, and you know, I have the old school sort of lines here, so let's just get rid of that, and let's get rid of that, and let's put our zones in, and let's see what we're looking at here with this zone right here. And we got sort of a floor right here, a little bit slightly to the downturn. And so if you extend this out, this is what we're looking at from a downside. And again, you have this moving average that we're probably going to see a bounce off of, and it's whether that bounce turns into a higher high, or if that bounce is just kind of like a, for lack of a better term, a dead cat bounce, and then we head back lower. And that could be huge profits for you. I mean, let's just say you entered right here at 165, you go down to 125, so that's about 40 bucks a share. You know, you do 10 shares, that could be a pretty good amount of profit for you. So that's just my tip today. That's what we got on Tesla, NVIDIA, and the market. Overall, I do think we are headed in a downturn. I just think the S&P 500, if we bring it up again, it's just being a little stubborn. You know, we're seeing a little bit, not too much difference in price from one week to the next, and we're gonna see how the next couple weeks play out. You know, if you bring up the S&P 500, S&P 500 on the weekly, we're right in this zone right here, and the TSI still is in an uptrend, so there's potential room. It's just that, you know, there's a lot of resistance right here, and I think a lot of bulls are just really afraid to kind of go long at this point. And once we start getting some downward pressure, then you're going to start to see the panic selling from retailers, and that's when you're going to see the next leg down. So there's a lot of things out there with inflation and the whole banking crisis thing, whether it's overblown or whether inflation is going to continue to go down. You know, a lot of that remains to be said. A lot of times news is just news, and you might see price action for the next day or so based on the news. But overall, the technicals is really what matters, and the news is just more of a short term. With that said, you know, the Fed is pretty important news. Inflation is pretty important news. So sometimes news does affect things. You know, I mean, this right here was because of the Fed and what they did with interest rates and what they did with trying to combat inflation. So that's all I have for you today. If you like what I have put together for you today, you want to see more, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also comment and see what, let me know what stocks you want me to analyze, and I will do that in the next video. Thank you.